This is another 4-player fixed card game which is being played with my subscribers. The blue player is a top grandmaster, the pink player is a master, and the yellow player is an expert. So it looks like a tough and a good game promising lobby. The blue player sent me an alliance request and I immediately accept it, and then I also send the alliance request to the pink and yellow players as well. Not that I intend to be good friends and stay in a strong alliance with all of them, but that it would just simply increase my odds to survive and end up in the 3-player situation, to reduce the odds of them targeting me. Everyone who watches my videos knows that alliances should never be taken too seriously, but they're good to have in a game for that, is that they give some sort of communication, like you could send an attack request to attack a specific player and then get a response with either thumbs up or thumbs down, or also you can tell your ally what you need to attack his territory, so like that he would move out from your continent, or that also you can tell him to attack your territory if he needs to, so indicating that it's fine for you that your ally takes over a continent attacking your territories. So to have the alliances turn on is really useful for that, otherwise playing without alliances you don't have that chat option, and then it could be hard to understand what the other player wants, and you cannot really organize the mutually beneficial teaming up attacks that easily. So what it looks like that the blue and yellow players got the best positions, having South America and Australia respectively almost from the beginning of the game, while I and pink are still struggling to capture our continents. So what it mostly means is that either him or me the most likely to get eliminated from the game first as the weakest players. Or I mean even with us capturing those continents, the small continent players could really team up on us if they wanted and prevent us from holding continents. Or at least would definitely be worth to team up on one of us. Otherwise, with us getting much stronger, one of the smaller continent players will get eliminated as the first player. The blue player counterattacks that probability by capturing Africa, so he will be as strong as me and the pink player if he captures Europe and if we all hold our continents successfully. So it looks like the yellow player has the biggest chances to get eliminated first, especially after the blue player showed that he is targeting him, and definitely not on his side. So the yellow player now has to come up with something good to not get eliminated first. Or even better, with him and blue being the first players to capture continents, the yellow player could have made the alliance with blue and offer to either team up on me or pink. And from my perspective it also makes the most sense for me to team up with yellow, as differently from yellow who only has access to one of my border, the blue and pink players have access to 2 of my borders, and the blue player actually even 3 since the pink player doesn't guard his border neither towards me nor towards the blue player. So it's the least likely for the yellow player to properly retaliate from all of the 3 players. And also the continental troop wise it also makes the most sense to team up on yellow, as while he only gets 2 continental troops, all of us get even 5. I'm not really sure what the blue player has in mind by saying to attack his territory if I need to and sending thumbs up, as I don't really think he has in mind that Asian territory next to me. And I don't think that he wants that I would invade him into one of his continents either, so I decided to continue on focusing to attacking yellow. Though the blue player betrays me, and probably it makes sense because I forgot to look at the troops counter and I didn't even notice how I became quite stronger than blue and pink, so maybe that was for that, or maybe he wants to team up with pink on yellow and me at once. Either way, that was a misplay for me, as I should have rather crushed newly gotten troops into the yellow player's army instead of taking Australia from him, as then the pink player might have completely taken him out, or after I captured Australia I should have just fortified my biggest army on Siam to become the Australian player myself, and that way be guaranteed that I end up holding some continent. But the blue player is good with me again and even crushed one of the yellow player's smaller armies. And looking at the troops counter and seeing how weak the yellow player is, it would just be really dumb to not team up on him, rather starting to attack each other and letting the yellow player make a comeback, just for one of us to end up being eliminated as the 4th player. So this is why I crushed one of the yellow player's armies as well, just for him to get eliminated by someone else, and then left my biggest army on Central America, so then after with me capturing both of the Americas, and the blue player Europe with Africa, we would make the pink player as the Australian player trapped and team up on him, with both of us crushing some troops into him each turn. The pink player immediately noticed that and counter-attacked our plan by moving into North America. And at one hand I'm happy that we didn't pull of this strategy because my army would have stayed blocked after I fortified it to Kamchatka, but at the same time a bit sad as it would have been for the blue player much harder to protect Europe with Africa with 2 borders in comparison with my 1 border, so then the pink player getting trapped might have considered going through one of the blue player's armies. I wasn't sure what to do now. It looked a bit much to let the blue player hold both of these continents, and South America is another place in which you could get easily trapped, so I decided to just take Africa from blue, leaving my army on the territory of North Africa. I'm not sure what to do now. It looks like I have to choose with which player I would like to team up with. I have never played with the pink player before and I don't know how good he is at the balance of the game, so maybe if we team up on blue, maybe he ends up over-attacking him for me to win the game. So let's see. I really want to see him crushing one of the blue player's armies. The blue player obviously retaliates to me after getting betrayed. But let's see what the pink player does. Well, he doesn't do much. It didn't go in the way I expected. The blue player moved out his army, and the pink player didn't have much initiative to crush it anymore. So I think I actually misplayed again. I mean, if my goal was that the pink player would crush the blue player's army on Iceland, then I should have just let blue hold his continents, fortifying my army on Venezuela, so to make the pink player trapped in North America, so then he might have really wanted to go through that blue's army. But by wanting to achieve what I want to achieve, I went with a completely different plan which ended up not working out at all. The blue player wants me to attack pink and I think I will go with that, as the pink player is the strongest player, doesn't really waste his troops neither on me nor the blue player, so with him being the most passive player, it would be very good for us to team up on him as the most aggressive players. As for the game to not stalemate, we want that our numbers would go down but not up. But at the same time I'm not really desperate to strongly stay in any of the alliances and I'm just looking for the opportunities. I could really attack anyone. Just do whatever one I think would have the biggest chances to benefit me the most. The pink player put his army next to the blue player, so maybe he will attack blue, so I will keep my army on Greenland to have the access to attack the blue player too instead of fortifying it next to pink. Though obviously he will invade me into Europe too after I invaded him into Africa. So I didn't really create a mutually beneficial opportunity for him to team up on blue, and since it's not possible for me to capture North America since the pink player put one of his armies on Central America, I think I will rather continue teaming up with blue on him. So I just told the blue player to attack pink and crush these 2 smaller pink's African armies, fortifying my biggest army next to him to show the blue player that I'm serious. Though the blue player went on taking Australia from me, but again I didn't really create him a mutually beneficial opportunity, as looking to the troops counter I was stronger not only than him but stronger than the pink player as well. So this time I was that the most passive player who doesn't waste enough troops on attacking anyone, so I needed to be attacked to keep the things in balance to not let me become too strong. Now since the blue player moved himself to Australia, I offer the pink player an opportunity to team up on him and make him trapped in Australia, while I would be holding Europe, and the pink player South America and Africa, with both of us only guarding the borders against blue. So I'm really wondering how that turns out, as I didn't really expect the blue player to make himself so easily trapped in Australia by his own. I mean, it should have been really obvious for the blue player what I offer the pink player to do from the last turn, but maybe the blue player was hoping that the pink player will still stay on his side while invades me into Europe. It looks like the blue player was processing the information in his head on what to do next, and he decided to fortify his army next to me. But I will easily counter that by fortifying some troops from my other army, so to make the army next to blue stronger when the other one weaker, and if the blue player fortifies his army next to my another army, then I will do the same again, so he doesn't really have a proper way to invade me without breaking the balance of the game, He needs that his biggest army would have the access to both of my borders at once, but currently it's impossible for that to happen, so unless the pink player makes the path for him on purpose. But as you can see, at least as of now, the pink player is really on my side. The blue player seems to be very desperate to break through my border, and specifically mine, as otherwise he could have fortified his army to Afghanistan instead of Ural to have the access to the pink player's African border as well. So because of that I just made him the access to that border, which really looked like a natural move because with me capturing that territory I split some troops to crush into the blue player as well, so not to that obviously unleash the blue player's army next to pink. The pink player betrays me and I'm not too sure why, because one thing, he was stronger than me, so I wasn't taking the advantage over him or something like that, and then the blue player was attacking me while not caring about him anyway. So I really think it was a misplay for him to let the blue player get out of the trap. And if you wonder why I wasn't moving out from the blue player's threats to invade me, is because knowing that at the first place that he is one of the top players who is really skillful at those settings, meaning that he wouldn't really throw the game so easily like that, I really think that the blue player was trying to pressure the wrong player. As usually if you want to get out of the trap, then you should pressure the player who has the turn after you. So after getting weakened he would still have a turn to invade his teaming up player to save the balance of the game, while if you target the player who has a turn before you, then he could just be taken out by another player without him even getting to make his turn and get the troops from his continents at the first place. Basically, focusing on highly targeting the player who has a turn before you, is the easiest way to throw the game. So I knew that if the blue player overweakens me giving the game away to pink, then with me not even having a single turn to make, this loss would be really on the blue player. Now why I switched to attacking pink is because he didn't really want to continue teaming up with me on blue by himself, breaking the trap by his own while the blue player wasn't even pressuring him. And another thing is that he was the strongest player. Also he let the blue player hold Asia, so I thought why not to invade him then if he lets the blue player hold Asia. And then luckily the blue player switched to my side. I told the blue player to attack my territory if he needs to, indicating that he would capture a continent or continents for himself too, saying that it's fine for me that by doing that he would capture the territories of mine, but he captured not exactly the continent I wanted for him to capture. I wanted that he would have captured Africa, or Africa with Europe, so then with me capturing North America we could try trapping the pink player in Asia. And I mean, with me having my army on Venezuela, it should have been really obvious to the blue player. But I think he didn't go with that because he really afraid of the pink player's army which is unleashed towards him. So I think he was scared that the pink player could break the balance of the game giving the game away to me. So in that case that was really smart. But now with the pink player invading blue into North America and capturing lots of territories in it, let's push the blue player from moving out from North America, so he would give it to me, while capture Europe and Africa for himself. As you can see, the blue player still doesn't go with the trapping strategy, letting the pink player to move out. But I mean, it would have been a dangerous risk to him, so if I were him, then probably I wouldn't have gone with it either. As those guarding armies wouldn't have been that big in comparison with the pink player's biggest army. Now I think I will continue teaming up with blue. I mean, the pink player attacked us both, which will probably really make the blue player to continue teaming up with me on him too, and I mean probably doesn't really make much sense to suddenly change your front, so unless you would like to get a trapping opportunity or so. But I don't know. Let's actually see what happens if I let the pink player hold Europe while capture South America for myself. Maybe if the blue player somehow decides to put his army on Siam, then maybe we will go with the trapping strategy. So come on blue, do your worst. The blue player doesn't do anything, so let's encourage pink to attack blue. Unfortunately the pink player attacks me. I mean, it's not too good to try changing your fronts. And probably I should have just invaded the pink player into Europe by myself first, so that the blue player would see that I'm sticking on his side. But I mean, with the blue player being the player after me the turn-wise, it makes me more sense to try teaming up on him, rather than to try teaming up with him on pink, who is the player before me the turn-wise. So actually it would be the best for me to attack blue, while for blue pink, and for pink to attack me. That way we would have the least chances to give away the game to another player if we don't take the skill level into account. But it looks like we all three are very decent players here. At least I can definitely say that the blue player is, judging by my previous experience playing with him, but even though I play with the pink player for the first time, he looks like a very good player who knows he is doing too, but on the other hand he hasn't been put into a more complicated situation yet, like where he gets trapped with both of the players blocking his way to get out, so it's too soon to say how it would be about that, as even though the gameplay was super advanced so far in comparison with public lobbies, it wasn't as advanced to him as getting into some sort of the trap. So anyway, as you can see, I continue attacking blue, as with him being the player after me the turn-wise, it makes me the most sense for me to do that, so I would force him to attack pink, so that the balance of the game wouldn't become broken. And I mean in general I want to attack someone so that the game wouldn't be that much stale, though I'm the weakest player right now, so actually the blue and pink players should show much more initiative, especially pink, assuming if they don't want for the game to be that much stale either. To my way of thinking, the blue player should actually attack the pink player more. As I mean, if we just attack the player who has the turn after us each, then I think the game would progress much more naturally, as now we get into the teaming up alliances after a few turns, breaking them, then getting back again, and while we don't go up quite significantly the troop-wise looking to the troop counter, at the same time we don't really get down either. And I think this is what happens when we keep changing allies like socks, then becoming neutral for a while, and then getting back to the same thing again, with no of the trapping strategies or their attempts really working so far. Actually the one in which the blue player was trapped was going extremely well until the pink player decided to pull it out from it, despite it favoring him much more, as besides him being stronger, the player which the blue player was pressuring was me. So it might have even been a win to him if the blue player pushed me too hard. Actually that's quite surprising, seeing the pink player making himself block into the Australian position, as doesn't he remember what happened to the blue player. Now it's the time for me to capture Africa with Europe, which I would assume the blue player would follow with capturing both of the Americas and putting his troops into Kamchatka, while my borders are Ukraine and Middle East. So let's see what the pink player does. Crushes the blue player's guarding army, but for some reason doesn't try to V1 attack to break through blue's border, as then he would have gotten out of the trap if he won it and fortified his army to North America. But even if he fortified his troops on Kamchatka, on that Asian territory next to the blue player's border, the blue player wouldn't have been really able to fortify his troops to properly defend it, simply because all other blue's armies were in Asia. So the pink player could have really easily gotten out of the trap, but I guess he missed that opportunity. Though it doesn't matter anymore, as with the blue player not leaving even a small amount of troops on Europe, the pink player brought through my continent, so the trap got broken. On the other hand, I understand why the blue player maybe didn't guard, is because he probably didn't want to risk getting one of his biggest armies crushed either. So I'm not sure where everything it leads to, but maybe some sort of the trapping strategy again. I mean, the pink player fortified his army to Africa while the blue player's army is in Asia, so maybe the blue player might get trapped somehow for another time, no idea, but I will just protect North America from him, while with leaving no troops on the pink player's border, letting him understand that I'm intent to be on his side now. So let's see what the pink player does. Surprisingly, the blue player didn't put his army neither on Ukraine nor Middle East, nor on some African or other European territory. I think the pink player understood what I want, but I think it would have been much better if he captured Europe as well, so then I would have taken South America from him to get the same number of troops. But I mean, if he is fine for me getting Europe next to North America to hold two big continents, then I guess why not. I really like that if he actually sticks to that plan. The blue player is pressuring me like the last time, but I think he is really weakening the wrong player. Attacking the player who has turn before you instead of the player who has the turn after you, is the easiest way to give away the game to another player in the 3-player game's trapping situation like that. As I mean, if you weaken Pink, then Pink would still receive his continental troop bonuses from his continents and then would even be able to trade in cards if he has a set in order to break into my continents to prevent me from getting those continental troop bonuses and with that saving the balance of the game. While with blue attacking me, I won't be able to do absolutely anything. I won't even get a turn to do anything as the pink player will just simply take me out if the blue player actually overweakens me. And unfortunately that's the game. But obviously you cannot win them all. Was nothing up to me to do anymore. Let's spectate and see who wins the game. But it should really be the pink player, so unless he blunders. And he is already making a mistake by doing those unnecessary troop splits, like the blue player will break through these continents anyway, and if so, then it just isn't beneficial to have your troops split into multiple smaller armies. And personally I think it would have been much better if the pink player captured all of those territories and Australia instead of crushing his army into blue. But his blitz was very good, so that's fine as well. Also, while the pink player got lucky in that, the blue player got lucky into 11 vs 9 attack to successfully break through South America as well. Unlucky for blue, the pink player managed to break through Australia successfully. The blue player had a set at 4 cards, and if the pink player didn't have one, then there might have been an opportunity for the blue player to make a comeback, but the pink player did, so the pink player obviously stayed as a big favorite to win. Applauses this time goes to the pink player. That was really well done, he saw the opportunity and took it. And now, for another fixed card subscriber game recommendation, I would recommend you watching this video in which I show the South American trapping strategy. It's really hilarious and insane.